Good evening, everyone. This is Chris Hankey, your proud superintendent. I'm very pleased to continue our virtual town hall series. Tonight we have a couple of wonderful topics. We're going to be talking to a number of agencies that help our students and families. And also we're going to be having an update on PBIS in the building. So we kind of have a two-part town hall. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Yolanda Hamilton, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Consultant. She's going to be moderating the first part of the town hall on the agencies. Ms. Hamilton?
Thank you, Mr. Hankey. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight for this very important town hall focusing on mental health and PBIS. For the first 30 minutes of the town hall, we're going to engage in learning more about the opportunities and services that the agencies represented on the line, on the chat provide for our students within the Garfield Heights City School District. Before we open up, I would just like to make a few introductions. And at this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Gordon Dupree, who is our Director of Pupil Services.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamilton. Good evening, community and parents. Tonight, we have for you a number of people from various agencies in our community who work with your children in our schools to help them with anything that has to do with social and emotional things. Their anxiety about going to school, they may be depressed a little bit, they may have problems sleeping, and we hope to address any questions that you have tonight about that. Some parents have asked us, when are the agencies going to be back in school? We expect to have agencies back in school in the next few weeks because we're giving kids and staff a chance to adjust to being back in school again. So we hope that we answer all the questions that you have tonight. And I'm turning it back over to Mrs. Hamilton.
Thank you, thank you. So before we start our dialogue tonight, I would like to give the opportunity for each person that's represented by the agencies to introduce themselves so that you can understand who they are, their title, and the agency that they're associated with. So at this time, I'd like to ask if the person representing Highland Springs can unmute and introduce themselves to our listening audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Nieves. I am the Senior Business Development Representative for Highland Springs and Highland Springs Changes. We have adult, child, and adolescent outpatient outpatient services and adult inpatient services for mental health and addiction.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, I would like to introduce the representative from Applewood. If you could please unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Armando Torres. I'm from Applewood Centers. I am a licensed counselor in the school-based department in Garfield Heights School District. Applewood is a mental health agency for children and families, and we offer a number of services from in-home care to outpatient to even residential.
Thank you, Armando. I would like to ask the representative from Guidestone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynn Franks. I'm a community counseling supervisor at Ohio Guidestone, and we are one of the providers that provides mental health services in the school district.
Okay, and if we have a representative from Nancy Laurie and Associates. Okay, Heart to Heart.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shauni Cody. I am the Director of Compliance and Quality Assurance at Heart to Heart. We provide both case management and therapy services to adults and children in the community.
Okay, thank you very much. And Pete Bliss.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I serve as the contact person for Cornerstone of Hope's community outreach efforts.
Okay, and I apologize. The remaining guests that we have, Debbie and Bethany and Kelly, if you can Bethany, Debbie and Kelly, if you can unmute yourselves and give the agency name that you're affiliated with.
Ms.
No.
Hamilton,
With PBIS.
yeah, they're for the PBIS program. So I think you got all the agencies, and then Mr. Patton will take over in the second half and introduce them.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to just ensure that I wasn't missing out on anyone.
Sure.
Well,
Certainly, thank you.
the purpose we are gathered tonight is to, again, learn more about mental health and the type of support that's provided. This is very important because many of us are just come from a background in which we are used to the practice of just passing through trauma. So when things occur that might be traumatic or have an impact on our social, emotional well-being or mental health, we kind of just show up and continue going through the motions as usual. However, tonight we want to talk about the key signs that indicate that you might need to reach out for support for your child if they're exhibiting any of the following. You might notice that your child might be having a short temper, be very short-tempered around activities when they're asked to do things. It may be hard for you or your child getting out of bed in the morning, sort of having that daily dread repeating itself each day with anxiety about just approaching the next day at hand. You might find it difficult to engage in regular household activities. That includes interacting with your children or even siblings interacting with each other, having a loss of appetite and change in sleep habits. Those are all signs that we could be dealing with something that is stressors that are impacting our mental health or social emotional well-being, but we're so used to just internalizing that we just sort of show up and just go through the motions without dealing with the proper tools to help support our mental health. And so tonight we're going to just dive in with some questions. And also, if you have any other additional questions, feel free to enter them into the chat, and we will do our best to try to address those questions in the time frame that we've been given tonight. So I would like to start by posing the first question to Guidestone. Can you share with the families what are some good coping strategies that students and families can tuck in their back pocket when they are experiencing situations in which they feel they are starting to have anxiety or stress?
I would say good coping skills are finding something that relaxes you. Whether it be going outside, taking a walk. Thankfully, the weather's starting to get better. Maybe going to the park. Edgewater Beach is really nice and pretty. Doing some relaxation breathing is another good coping skill. Finding someone supportive that you feel is good to talk to can also help relieve stress.
Thank you. Thank you. And so making sure that you're making those connections with someone to process and talk through maybe those feelings about anxiety or just reservations. And I think oftentimes if families do that, you'll find that to really help, just having an outlet, especially since we've all been experiencing the social isolation from being at home. Having someone else to connect with can help to alleviate some of those feelings around stress and anxiety. Thank you. The next question I would like to direct towards Highland Springs. With school returning back into a hybrid model, what are some suggestions that you can give our students and families as it relates to sleep and the purpose of having a consistent schedule and routine?
Yeah, great sleep and having a consistent routine reduce anxiety. And we often know that anxiety comes frequently from a lack of control or feeling a lack of control in your environment, which that's what the pandemic is doing to everybody right now. So when kids understand what is going to happen and when it's going to happen, they start to feel a sense of control in their environment, and it reduces the fear of the unknown, which reduces anxiety and symptoms of depression. You're basically empowering your children to take back some control by creating some consistency for them and making sure that they're getting some good sleep. Biologically, we know our kids need 8 to 10 hours of good solid sleep. Unfortunately, adults, they say only 6 to 8. I don't know that I agree with that, but our brains do function better when we're well rested. So when you're rested and thinking clearly, you feel more confident in your ability to manage daily stressors. And of course, one of our first steps at Highland Springs and Changes is to put people on a schedule. It, aside from helping us stay on track, it helps our clients accomplish what needs to be done in a day, and it helps them regain control of their environment and feel a sense of accomplishment when they can remain on track. But you can't be too rigid with it, because if you have a schedule that's set to the minute and you can't keep up with it, that's going to create a whole new set of anxiety. So make sure you're building in some time for flexibility and life to happen.
Yeah, that's very important. Rest. Did we all hear that? I think that's something that we don't really consider as being a part of supporting our mental health, but it is well needed. I know that some strategies that I use for myself is trying to go to bed earlier, even though with this daylight savings time, oh my goodness, it's really thrown schedules off on top of everything. So once you feel like you're in a routine, now daylight saving time, I think also for me, just kind of pulling back on looking on social media or using my phone. And I've also found that during this time, because of the overload of maybe having Zoom meetings or supporting, students during learning, it might be good just to turn off technology for a while, allow yourself some time to be free from technology, to just kind of calm yourself from being overstimulated by being on the internet or being on screen all day. Thank you for that. The next question I would like to pose to Applewood: how can anxiety and depression present itself, and how do we know it is time to seek out services?
Yeah, so there's a number of different signs and symptoms that we can see in our children for depression and anxiety. A lot of it's going to be based on what's normal for your child. So when you're looking at your child, you're going to know what their normal behaviors are like. So we can compare those to some of the signs to see if we see some of those signs. So for depression, that's going to be things like, I think we kind of hit on it already, like sleeping patterns. Are they more tired? Are they more fatigued than usual? Are they losing interest in things that they normally enjoy doing? Like maybe they're losing, they don't want to go to practice when before they love to go to practice. Are they eating a lot? Maybe not, they're not eating enough. Poor grades, grade decline, hopelessness, focus, or loss of focus in school, maybe off-task behaviors, things like that. For anxiety, we might see things like picking or nail biting or things like that, negative self-talk. Sometimes they might be overly critical of themselves. Maybe they want to be more isolated than normal. So those are all things that we can look at in our children to see the signs. So it is never too early to get help. Once we see those signs, we should get help and seek help. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up, being aware of the signs that our students exhibit. And I know that when we look at like the younger age students, which I call the littles, like elementary school, sometimes they're not always able to put language to how they're feeling, right? And what's causing anxiety. So it's important to be, like you said, aware of those behaviors, maybe nail biting, maybe things that you didn't notice that they were doing prior to the whole transition this school year, and being able to also make sure that they get the support that they need. Thank you very much. Peter Bliss, I would like to pose this next question to you. If there was a point in which a person would need services and they do not seek out assistance, what do you think could be the impact or the outcome that results as a lack of not pursuing services that are available?
Yeah, and that's a really, really good question, because at what point do you seek these services? And we like to think of this in terms of traumatic grief due to traumatic loss, as opposed to what we might call common or typical grief. And I think Armando hit on all of these, except when we start to experience these things as a result of not having, not necessarily treatment, but support and adequate services, we're going to feel these intensified and of longer duration. So not everybody is in need of professional services, but certainly those who have experienced traumatic loss, which certainly has been compounded by the pandemic, though most folks are in need of further services, whether that comes from a support system that you develop on your own or from professional services. And if your friends are, telling you that they think you need to maybe get some help and these sorts of things, then that's when we start to consider professional services. But Armando hit it on the head. All of those are symptoms that, if they are prolonged, one needs to consider professional services, but not everybody does. The key is having a good support system, watching your physical health, making sure that you're seeing the doctor and these sorts of things, and keeping that healthy lifestyle balance.
Great, thank you. And I want to remind our audience that's joining us tonight, if you have any questions as we're going forward with the dialogue, feel free to enter them into the chat. We will be responding to a few of those. And actually, we have a question that has come up. Does anyone offer help specifically for families? And if so, how can we sign up for services? If not, how can we go? So I would like to say, Ms. Wilson, would you like to explain that process briefly of how the referral processes work, or how they can connect with the agencies?
Yes, thank you for that. If any students and families contact any of their buildings, we can start with a building principal, or if they feel comfortable reaching out to the teacher, and just reach out and ask, how we can get provided with services. What would happen is, or you can contact me personally. We can go ahead and work together to determine what services are you looking for, whether it's for an individual student, whether it's for families, and other resources aside from the counseling, and we can go ahead and get you guys set up with that. What would happen is we will really work together to determine what are you looking for, what would be best for you and the family, and we will go ahead and make the appropriate referral.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question I would like to direct to Heart. So seeking out services, we know that there's a stigma attached to mental health around in many cultures. And people think, oh, that indicates a sign that you're weak, or that you're quote unquote crazy, or more so on the derogatory end. Heart, can you elaborate on stigmas and the facts of why it's important for people to seek out these services to support their mental health?
Definitely. And that is a really huge thing that I know that a lot of our students and families feel, will I be judged or considered weak for seeking services? I do believe that many people still think that receiving services is, we're sitting on a couch and talking to someone, things like that. But knowing that we are able to come into your home if you feel comfortable, the schools to work with children, and support in the community as well. That is something that is very different from what many might consider your traditional types of therapy. And knowing that we can have these different types of services, I think can help people realize that, it's not just your mental health that we're working on your physical health, we're working on your emotional health as well. And being able to address the stigma of receiving these services with our different services. I know Heart to Heart offers, many different services, psychotherapy, as well as case management. I know I'm familiar with many of the other agencies on the line too that do offer the same services. And being able to meet in places where the clients are at, where our families are at, and starting where they're from, I think can kind of take away from the fact that, we're maybe not immediately starting to address trauma or anything like that. If you're, for example, wondering where you're going to, find food or something for that evening, we can start there and begin building that particular relationship to break into those, tougher topics that you might think of. So being able to, start where our families are, I believe is really important, particularly when you are, working with children in school who may have, had some difficult experiences in the past. Being able to just kind of start with that basic relationship and grow is certainly something that we are dedicated to.
Yes, that's very good, very good. And I just wanted to add, like, if an agency, and you can give a thumbs up, I want to reiterate to the listening audience that if any agency is working with a particular child, that you can also offer additional services to that family at large. If your agency works with families in addition to students, just put a thumbs up so that everybody can see that. And again, you know, we all these agencies that are represented tonight provide special niche services focused around supporting mental health and social emotional well-being of not just students, but also families. And so again, we want to shake off the stigma. We will continue to bring these conversations about mental health to the forefront because it is important. We understand on a more serious notes that, you know, when mental health is not properly taken care of, it can lead to thoughts of suicide, depression, and things of that nature that are really serious. And so if you're experiencing any of those tonight, we just encourage you to definitely reach out and to get that help and the support that you need. Now, I want to do something really quick. You know, we have a few questions that are coming in, and one of the questions from the listening audience is what if the therapy is not working? So what if a person is seeking out help, but they don't feel that it's working? I'll let whoever would like to chime in 30 seconds to address that question. So what do you do if you feel like the therapy or support that you're receiving is not working? What should be the next steps?
I was going to say, you know, I think the first step should certainly be, you know, talk with your provider of the therapy and let them know, you know, hey, I don't feel this is working. Can we try doing X, Y, and Z? You know, it is certainly your right as a client of the particular agency to get what you need. And many times it's just having a conversation saying, I need X, Y, and Z. And certainly, again, if it's something that is not working after you have addressed that with your provider, you know, you always have that option to work with someone else, but definitely start by just saying, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. And most, if not all, providers are going to be more than willing to listen to you and, you know, get you what you need. That's what they're there for.
Okay, Rachel, chime in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can. I absolutely agree with that. And I think too, you know, parents, especially, you have the right to advocate for your child. So if you're noticing that it's not working, or if you guys are in family therapy and it's not working, the goal obviously is to get help that's, you know, that's right for you. So sometimes it might just be indicative of needing more intensive services. There are several levels of care. And maybe you just need a little bump up for a little bit of time to kind of reset everything before you go back to, you know, maybe you need some intensive outpatient before you go back to individual services, or you need to be in some sort of group setting before you go back to seeing someone once every couple of weeks. So just talk about more intensive services and make sure you know what other options are out there.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left to have 30-second closing statements by each of the agencies represented. So I would like to start first by having Armando, in 30 seconds or less. Can you share with the listening audience what you would like to communicate to them on behalf of Applewood in pursuing services?
Yeah, so, excuse me. We're obviously in the schools to help. We're going to try to do our best to make our presence in the schools and provide the services to the families and the children that are seeking them as best as we can. We all know that this isn't a sprint. It's more of a long journey to, you know, getting these kids the help they need. So I would say that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Guidestone?
Yeah, I would say, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, it's super important to take care of not only your body, but also your mind, you know, and there's a lot of our so, you know, we're more than willing to provide services to families, individuals, in many different programs.
Thank you. Heart to Heart?
Yeah, just, you know, as the others have mentioned, we are more than willing to provide whatever services families need, whether it be in school, in the home, via telehealth, whatever the family is comfortable with, and just again, not being afraid to ask for help. You know, all of our workers are excellent at finding community resources and working with families to ensure that they are getting the help that they need to stay healthy, not only physically during this pandemic time, but mentally and emotionally as well.
Thank you. Highland Springs.
I think the thing that we really want to drive home to the families is that, you know, like everybody has said, definitely ask for help. Don't be afraid to do that. Our services are a little bit more intensive. We don't do individual counseling. We do intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization for kiddos. And if you think that your child may need these services, but you're not really sure, just call us. We work with every agency that's on this broadcast. We work with all of the agencies in the surrounding counties. And if we are not the right fit for you, we will help you find someone that is. So you're not alone. It's not a problem to call us, or I'm imagining anyone else on this broadcast, and just say, hey, I need some help. Where do I go? What do I do? And we'll guide you in the right direction if it's not with us.
Thank you. And Peter Bliss.
I would agree with Lynn. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and echo that to everybody. Everybody is stressed out. Everybody is experiencing unprecedented depression and anxiety. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Thank you. And so again, to the listening audience, we want to encourage you as a call to action to make a commitment to support your mental health and socio-emotional well-being for yourself and for your children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you. You can start tonight. We went over the mental health checklist. If you had any of those signs where you struggle to get out of bed with like the reservation about facing the next day, you find yourself being short-tempered, right? You have a decrease in energy, difficulties concentrating or lack of appetite, a decline in the areas of interest. If you had a hobby before, you're just not really into it now, or having thoughts of death or suicide, we encourage you to reach out. So make a commitment, type in the chat and say, I will commit to better self-care. You can do that if you would like to work with the agencies and get started with that. You can email Ms. Wilson. Her email address is the letter G, Wilson, WILSON at ghbulldogs.org. You can also reach out to Ms. Wilson by calling her at 216-777-2279. You can call or to send a text with your contact information, and she'd be very happy to follow up with you. Again, we will continue to keep this dialogue going on, because the more that we come before you as a listening audience, we're building a relationship. We're helping you to get to know the providers and what goes on in our school, especially with all the changes that have happened as a result of the pandemic. So I want to send a big thank you to our providers that were on tonight. Thank you for taking time out your schedule to be a part of this event. And at this time, I would like to turn over the duration of the program to Mr. Patton, who will begin speaking about PBIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamilton. We would like to first want to thank all the agencies for taking the time out of their busy night to come talk to our families. If you know anything about the Garfield Heights City Schools, we've been very progressive in trying to support and continue to support our students and the needs that we have in the district. And so the work that we do with our agencies also ties into the work that we do in the building level with our PBIS work. The state of Ohio and the Ohio Department of Education has focused on the whole child. And in that new strategic plan that was sent out a few years ago, it talks about the social emotional standards that are in there. And the work around PBIS is something that the Garfield Heights City Schools has been in the forefront of doing the last several years, and continues to be a focus of our work each and every day. If you heard me speak at any time, and we talk about this all the time, that academics and behavior used to be separate silos. They used to be two different entities in schools, and that is not the case anymore and going forward. And as a district, we continue to make sure that both are merging into one. And it starts with the work that we do in each of the buildings. So today allows us to get an opportunity to share with the public the work that we continue to do around PBIS. Each of the last several years, our buildings have been recognized for our PBIS work, meaning that we continue to do a variety of different aspects. And tonight is our way for us to share out to the community the work that we're actually doing. So before I introduce and have the building representatives share out what have been doing through this pandemic, I just really want to kind of go over a couple aspects of the PBIS work that we've already have under place. So what we've done is all 5 buildings have been recognized for the Ohio Department of Education for our work around PBIS, meaning that we have monthly meetings, we have goals, we determine what is the supports that each of the buildings have to have. We actually have building representatives that are here tonight that are advocates that meet with myself monthly, and we do building report outs so that we're able to learn from one another and also share out with one another what's happening in the district as well as the particular buildings. During this COVID time, we've had to make a drastic shift in what we've done. And so again, the meetings have continued to take place, but our learning and what we've normally done when students were in the brick and mortar buildings, we've had to make a lot of shift and a lot of changes. And so when the buildings do report out here in a short minute, they're going to kind of share some of the examples of the work that we were doing, because again, the behavior side and the academic side have to work hand in hand. So a couple other things that we've done, we continue to meet monthly, and not only at the building level, but also as a district level. We continue to look at data. Data is really a driving force of this work around PBIS. It allows us to concentrate and understand what supports the particular buildings or schools may need, and then be able to provide the resources needed for those schools or students to do that. The work around PBIS talks about everything that we do each and every day, and especially as students have been coming back in the buildings, we have been reteaching school, and the PBIS work and the framework that we have set up through each of the buildings has been really an asset to us, because we had to teach school for all of our students, pre-K all the way to 12th grade. They were home for almost a year. And in that process, we had to reintroduce what the aspects of school have been doing. And so we have told our teachers, as they've been welcoming our students back these last several weeks, how to teach routines, all grade levels. What does it mean walking back in the building, and what does it mean going in and establishing those routines? Those are really kind of the key components and aspects of some of the work that we have in the PBIS framework that we have established in all the buildings have allowed us to make a seamless transition of welcoming our students back. We know that we continue to have supports for our students going forward, and it's really, again, an asset to being a district that continues to make sure that we are supporting our students in the work that we continue to go forward. What I'm going to do next is introduce each of the various staff members that are here with us. And at the end, there'll be time for any questions that the community may have around our work around PBIS. Again, normally what we've done in years past is that we've had PBIS nights or have had a PBIS aspect through our literacy nights, through open houses, and we have not been able to really kind of do those things. And so we've kind of had to make a few shifts here and there. And again, having the town halls allows us to share out to the community and the families the work that the district has been doing, and especially in the building levels. And so what I'm going to do first, introduce all the staff members. These are PBIS advocates. These staff members meet with myself once a month. Again, they're reporting out in the building levels of the work that they're doing, and we're able to kind of share out as a group, but then also their work is also to support what's happening with the building principals as well. And right now we are actually getting towards the end of our school year, but a lot of the work that we're doing is also making sure that we are able to get recognized by the Ohio Department of Education for the work that we're doing. And once again, that requires us to provide the documentation and support around the work around PBIS. And so, again, I could talk until 9 o'clock tonight about that, and I'm going to spare all of you, but all the details and all the fine things that we go on in there. But it's really important work, and we really know that the work that happens around is really supporting our children each and every day. So the staff members that we have here this evening are Kelly Rapska. So just wave real quick, and then she's at the high school. We have Bethany Gazowski, who's at the middle school. We have Lori Frank, who's at William Foster. I'm just going on my screens of where they're at. We have Megan Naluna, who's at Elmwood, and Debbie Drennan, who is at Maple Leaf. And so these various staff members are going to report out to you the work that they have been doing with the building levels, And again, any questions that the public may have or the families may have at the end, we can share out as a group on the work around PBIS. We're going to start with the high school, go to middle school, and then work our way down the elementary buildings. Kelly?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Kelly Roshkalb. I'm an English teacher and also the PBIS chairperson for the high school. At the high school, just like Mr. Patton said, students had to learn school. They had to learn how to do it this year, and they had to first learn what it means to show their Bulldog Pride. That's our acronym for being prepared and respectful and involved and determined and excellent. They had to learn how to do this on a computer for the first time this year. One of the biggest components of PBIS is setting our students up for success by making sure that they know what's expected of them in any given part of the school building or the online school environment now as we've had, so that they know what's expected of them behavior wise, so that they can meet those expectations and they can show that they are prepared and respectful and involved and determined and excellent. And we had to teach what each one of those words means, you know, all over again in this virtual learning environment. And now students are relearning school again through this new hybrid learning environment. Before we welcome students back into the classroom, Mrs. Ward and Mr. Sauer, two of our assistant principals at the high school, they did some behavior presentations for students, letting them know what to expect coming back into the building. Also alleviating some of that anxiety about maybe what it was going to be like coming back in the building. And so they had an idea of what to expect and how they should behave. And we have been really impressed by how well the students have adjusted to all the changes at the high school. And you know, some of those expectations are just regular behavior expectations, and then there's additional expectations that we have to make sure students are meeting because of the safety issues with the pandemic. During this time, students that are demonstrating positive behavior are being rewarded and recognized throughout the school. Students have been recognized with shout outs from their teachers on social media, in our newsletters. We have this year, during this past school year, we've rewarded over 100 students with Bulldog Pride signs for their front yard. And this acknowledges their commitment to learning and showing their Bulldog Pride. Now that we're back in the school building, we have physical pride cards that students can turn into a drawing. And these are pride cards that can be given to any student by any staff member simply for doing what they should be doing and meeting behavior expectations and showing their Bulldog Pride. And these can be redeemed for prizes. We're going to have bi-monthly drawings. Some of the most popular prizes that students really enjoy are electronic prizes like Bluetooth speakers, headphones. I know like the charging blocks, the cell phone charging blocks were popular last year. We have high school like school supplies, and then like t-shirts and other swag. Another change this year at the high school is with our advisory program. So any families who had students in our building in previous years may remember hearing about our advisory program and how we had that built into student schedules. Advisory is a main component of PBIS at the high school level, and it's been used to work on the social emotional learning, building relationships between students and staff, building healthy peer relationships, and also just working to ensure that student needs are met just so they can make really good choices academically and we can help them plan better for their futures. And obviously none of us are licensed psychologists or counselors, but we are with students every day, and we do understand that constant need for the social emotional learning and the social emotional support. So this year, the district is in the process of transferring our advisory lessons online. It's going to help us make this learning, the social emotional learning, more accessible to all of our students. We recently purchased a program called Ripple Effects, which is an online program. It's designed to help us meet those social emotional needs of our students, which, as we've been talking about all night, have really been exacerbated by the pandemic. So this program is going to focus on, it focuses on over 700 topics, from eating disorders to anxiety, depression, arrest, disabilities, harassment, substance abuse, so many more. And then each one of the topics begins with a scenario and a discussion question, and students can go through and explore these topics. They can do this independently. They can do this with their advisor. They can do this in small advisory groups. There's videos for them to explore. There's journal writing that they can engage in, role playing, and more. This is really something we've been wanting for our students for a while now at the high school, but because we didn't have the technology available, it wasn't a feasible program until recently. So there's one silver lining, I guess, from the pandemic, since we are now a one-to-one district and all of our students have access to the Chromebooks. It made it possible for us to make this move to sort of this digital environment. And then rather than having a separate period for advisory like we used to, students will get to work on these advisory lessons in their homerooms, which is going to allow for much stronger connections and relationships between students and their homeroom teachers / advisors. And just like Mr. Patton was saying, everything is so connected. You know, data is really showing that improving the social emotional needs of our students and their connections in the building is really going to help those students to in turn improve their academics and perform better in the classroom. And that's what we really want to see. Teachers are receiving training on this new program next Wednesday, and students are going to begin using it fourth quarter and going forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, middle school.
Hi, I'm Bethany Gazowski. I teach 8th grade science for the Bulldog Digital Academy, and I will be reporting out about how we do PBS in the middle school. Just like the high school, we teach all of our expectations for everything, and we had to really change what we were doing because we were all online for the majority of the year. So we had to teach the students how to check emails and send emails correctly with the subject, and how to talk to adults and communicate that way. We had to reteach proper ways to be on Zoom and what to do and not to do with your peers in this kind of setting. So it has definitely been a roller coaster and a challenge for everybody. We also continued to do positive incentives, and we had to be really innovative because we were online. So I know that teachers in 6th through 8th grade allowed kids to maybe do a show and tell time during some of their class period, or opened up the chat so that they can converse with one another, maybe let them go into a breakout room so that they could work with a peer on an assignment. There was more fun things that we did as classes, like played Kahoot games together for a positive incentive, or put them in groups and did Slitherio or Among Us, maybe giving them some extra credit for a few things. And then I know that a lot of students have been recognized in our Bulldog Brags, which was something Mrs. Corrado put together, where all of the teachers would send her students that were doing a really great job and maybe going above and beyond during these hard times. And this was a weekly thing. So it was a big PowerPoint presentation, and students were recognized in there. And we did have a lot of teachers in all grade levels sending emails and positive behavioral communications home, maybe visiting students. Let's see. We did the yard signs as well, just like the high school, sent letters in the mail, and yep, and then we gave students positive feedback as much as we can in their own emails and in chats. So we have been doing a lot to keep that rolling. And now that they're back in the building, we're going to try and figure out how to start our store up again, where we do have lots of different prizes that they can win. And then as they are doing things the correct way in the building, they can be earning usually their blue Bulldog tickets, and they can be purchasing items in the store, from little pieces of candy or saving up and buying something really big, or maybe being put into a raffle for possibly a bike or a TV. And that's all from the middle school.
Thank you very much. All right, Elmwood.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Hi, my name is Megan Naluna. I'm an intervention specialist at Elmwood. So at Elmwood and elementary, we follow something called PAWS, and we have expectations for students to follow PAWS, and PAWS stands for Prompt and Prepared, accept responsibility, work hard, and show respect. So those are kind of the expectations we have for behavior. And when the students were on remote, we typically have something called a PAWS party every month, and that is for the students who follow PAWS. Teachers have a criteria that they have for their students by grade level. They share that with the students. They teach them what that would look like. And if they follow PAWS that month, they're able to join us at the PAWS party. In the past, we've done dance parties with the light up sticks and popcorn and movies and things, but as being remote, obviously that had to be different. So luckily we have some really creative teachers at Elmwood who's did a great job of coming up with their own ideas that they can do with their students. Some examples of that was there was someone who had a PJ party. One of the teachers had lunch with their teacher because, you know, little kids do love to do that. And a movie and snack are just some of the ideas that they did or some of the examples. When the students started coming back into the building, we as well taught them the behaviors that are expected at Elmwood. Every teacher were given lesson plans to follow, and that was because we wanted to keep our language and our routines consistent across the building. So then all the teachers are saying the same words, same expectations, so it was very clear to all of our students in the building. And then we also had rotations for the teachers to teach procedures. How do we stand in the hall, especially now with the distancing, and we put colored dots where the kids need to stand, so there's a visual for them as well. And being elementary, we have the little guys. We have, you know, kindergarten. William Foster has preschool, so we have much younger students who, some of them have never stepped foot in a school before, and they're doing it for the first time in March. So they really need that time to learn what to do at school. So the teachers have been working really hard at that. And then just recently we had a magician come for our Students of the Month. His name is Drew Murray, and he's actually from Garfield Heights. He went to William Foster, and then he went to the middle school. And our principal, Mrs. Abraham, was actually one of his teachers at the middle school. So that was kind of cool to have that connection. And what we did was our Students of the Month for the past 2 or 3 months. And then we also gave teachers the opportunity. We had some space that, you know, if they had another student that was doing exceptionally well, they were able to send that student as well. And he did a magic show for us, and he's incredibly talented, and the kids absolutely loved it. The staff loved it. And it was interactive, and it was all virtual, which was really kind of cool. The kids were able to participate in the tricks. He even had some staff, and it was really good. The kids loved it. They were very engaged. And then what was kind of nice that what he included in his magic show is he gave the school a link, a YouTube link, so the teachers can then use that link as a reward for their class for kids who have show PAWS. So it was nice that the Students of the Month kind of got the live show, kind of got like the VIP, he called it the VIP show. And then teachers had the flexibility because, you know, having the hybrid schedule, we need some flexibility. So they were able to show it when they were able to or when they felt was appropriate. And the other thing, we also did the yard signs. We started that with our Students of the Month. And yeah, so we're doing some great things there.
Very nice. Thank you. Maple Leaf.
Good evening. I am Debbie Drennan. I am a 4th grade teacher at Maple Leaf. And to just reiterate what has been said by the other staff, we've been, ever since the beginning of the year, we had to train our students, teach them what are the expectations of working in an online environment. So we devised kind of like a calendar where we could give the students just one focus every day. And as we taught them those expectations of virtual learning, they were just able to focus on one thing. And at the end of the week, those students who made those goals were given an opportunity to participate in a free Friday activity where the kids in all the grade levels had a choice board, and they got to do some fun things as their choice and as their reward, because like it was said, it was very hard to come up with things virtually to give rewarding positive behaviors. So that was one thing that we have been doing since the beginning of the year. In addition, at Maple Leaf, we have our top dogs, which are those students who are showing paws consistently. Each classroom teacher, as well as other staff members, nominates students for the Top Dog Award each month. Starting in January, in addition to receiving a certificate in the mail, along with free taco coupons from Taco Bell, they got a yard sign in their yard. So that was a wonderful addition to our Top Dog Rewards. We also had a principal and assistant principal lunch that we were able to nominate students to join our principal and assistant principal once a month to eat lunch virtually together. So the kids really loved being a part of that. In addition, grade level wise, some highlights from each grade level. The first grade team at Maple Leaf, in order to reward positive behavior, they had a virtual scavenger hunt. They also, of course, implemented the Fun Friday Choice Board. They had a pajama day, and they were sending lots of things home in the mail, stickers, awards, bookmarks. Second graders, the second grade teams were also implementing the Fun Fridays, and they were doing a lot of Granny Wacky prizes for when they were noticing friends all doing what they were supposed to be doing. In third grade, they did something called the PAX Leader Mystery Game, and also they made up a celebratory button for the song Whoop There It Is. So when they would catch somebody doing what they were supposed to be doing on Zoom, they would be highlighted on the screen and that song would be played for that particular student. Fourth graders have Fun Fridays. Lots of awards and little prizes were sent home through the mail. We did a virtual bingo one day, and a lot of positive phone calls, dojo message, remind messages, emails sent home to parents, just letting them know that their child was doing what they were supposed to be doing. And we really appreciate them showing paws each and every day. In fifth grade, lots of things sent home through the mail for them as well as they did a family breakfast where everyone was given an opportunity to go make something, and then they all came back on Zoom and ate it together. And they also implemented a Friday adventure for those friends who were showing paws when they were supposed to be doing it. That's what we have at Maple Leaf. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, William Foster, and I believe Frank is also going to talk about BDA at the same time too.
Yeah, thank you. So I teach fourth grade for the Bulldog Digital Academy, but I was teaching fourth grade at William Foster for a long time. So I'll start with William Foster. They have a lot going on. They have 3 PBIS committees that meet monthly. Their tier 1 discusses the needs and monthly incentives. Tier 2 discusses behavior data and their strategies and individual needs. And then their tier 3 committee is comprised of principals, guidance counselors, district family coordinator, and intervention managers. Specific students are discussed with a plan that is tailored to meet individual needs. So those tiers and those committees have been ongoing through the years, and they've just tried to, make it adaptable and work it through, even being virtual for most of the school year. So they just continued it. At the beginning of each quarter, the teachers and principals at William Foster review pause expectations for online and in-person learning now with each class. The principals actually are doing some morning announcements. So they'll video them ahead of time, send them out to the teachers so that the teachers can show it to the students, and they review the pause expectations in the announcements. The teachers are working on their visions or PAX visions for their classrooms. And so now they're back in person. They're kind of revisiting those and how does this look? What do we want to see in our classroom in person? The teachers have been using mystery motivators. So they'll pick a mystery student and if that student is on task and doing what they're supposed to, then they get a granny wacky prize. So they've continued with the PACS things that we started last year. The teachers and principals have sent postcards, sent a lot of different things to families, to homes. They have been reinforcing positive behavior with toodles, and that's what PACS toodles, where they send little messages and they just send them through email or chats on their Zoom. The principals also were able to host principals lunch, and they just did it through their Zooms. So for any, the teachers that picked students of the month, they did the principals lunch. And they also focused on, like, for the month of February, they focused on students who were prompt and prepared. And so teachers nominated students that were always prompt and prepared, and then they went and did yard signs there too. And in January, they focused on students who had all their work completed, and then they went and put yard signs, and just try to do a lot of positive reinforcing and just continuing to kind of, get it working, where now that we're back in person, they're adjusting it, and it's going pretty good. So I want to talk a little bit about the BDA. It's really similar, but the visual, it's digital, so we're all online, and it's kind of new. So we've adapted some things to try to keep it the same. So we do have a PBIS team. We do have monthly meetings. We discuss data, and we have done teacher surveys to inform what the students' needs are. Their time on screen, looking at their work completion, noticing, when we needed asynchronous time. And then we go for our plan to improve. And then we meet again in a month and see if there's improvement and what else we can do and what teachers can do to make changes if needed. And then we are always reviewing PAWS expectations. So students, we always say, if you're a PACS leader, you're showing PAWS. And we've used that same language with that. And we've done some monthly incentives and things also, each grade level, like they'll do little parties. We've done spirit days, we've done PJ parties, and a lot of fun Fridays. So we're trying to keep those rewards and incentives, and a lot of things sent home also. So eventually the BDA would like to do something in person, maybe have a fun evening, an event, when that would be allowed and appropriate. And I think that's all I got for William Foster and our Digital Academy.
Well, thank you. As you can see, all the PBIS advocates have worked very tirelessly and very creatively throughout this entire year to help support our students, to be recognized for the work that they're doing. And again, thank you very much for all being part of this evening, but also thank you very much for the work. And this is not only just a small sampling size of the work that we do in the district. We want to thank all the teachers. Most importantly, we want to thank our students and our families for the work that you continue to do to help support our students and especially through the work that we do each and every day. We say this all the time. We wish this on no one, and hopefully this is a once in a lifetime event for all of us. And so the events that have taken place have allowed us to become very creative, but have also provided many opportunities in different aspects of learning for our children. And some of the things that we've learned, we will take and learn from them and grow from them, and hopefully be part of what we do. But the work that we've done has been very creative and very important aspect of what we do in each and every day. And so again, thank you very much for coming part of this. I'll turn this over to Mr. Hankey. He'll close us out. And again, that's all we have for tonight.
Thanks, Mr. Patton. And, I know a lot of the providers, I believe, have all logged off, but I'd like to thank all of them for participating tonight, and to all the teachers that are here leading our PBIS efforts. Thank you. It's super important, right? I mean, we're especially as we restart in-person learning. And certainly I think the parents and certainly I appreciate all of your creativity and efforts this year. It's been a year like no other. And I really do appreciate it. And Mr. Patton, thank you for spearheading our efforts. And we hope for a very nice conclusion of the year with our PBIS efforts. With that, I'll say good night to everyone. And
thank you, Dr. Dupree and Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Bailey and all the staff members. We appreciate all that you do and the work that you do. So again, as you can see, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is a collective effort. This is us working together, and it takes all of us to help to do this work each and every day. So thank you.
Yes, and as we go forward, I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank Mrs. Bailey, who's also really become our Zoom and YouTube producer on a lot of different programs and formats. So with that, good night to everyone that's watching, and good night to everybody